name?
I'm Potter, and this is Sam.
Hello.
We're the boys of Late at the Pier. We're gonna get warm in Portland. It's tricky. You're like the first person who's brought it up as well. Most people kind of think, oh, we're over here. This is our kind of new material, basically, and it's not. We've been working on that last album for like 21 years, you could say, and we just want to do new shit. So it's kind of tricky, kind of looking inside yourself and finding the passion for those songs again, to be honest. But we find ways around it, don't we?
Yeah, we just distort the old songs into ugly creatures. What was once beautiful, I don't know. Yeah, we just switch it around a bit.
I guess when you play a gig, it's kind of like a dialogue with the crowd. You create an energy, they respond to it, you respond to that, then it's kind of this back and forth kind of thing, and that's how you kind of have good gigs. I guess it's just a different kind of dynamic now. We're a little bit bored of the songs and we want to move on.
I don't think we stick to much, really. I have heard of that, and I know even myself, I would have sort of said in the past, it's not really like good when a band kind of changes things from, that kind of best initial version. But I think that's just silly, actually. I think now that when you're actually in a band, you realise that there is only one original version, and if people are always trying to recreate kind of like what's on their album live, it's quite funny because speaking to my parents is quite a rare occasion these days, but one of the last things that my mum said to me was, she said, live music, what you play live should be quite different to your record. And I kind of didn't really understand that, but now I've been out on tour for about a year. It's really kind of quite an important thing to remember, that you've just got to kind of do something entirely new. Even if you're playing those songs, you have to treat it as an entirely different kind of set of material. Well, I think the biggest thing that would help our next record right now would be the opposite. Like we have done all the touring we feel like we need to right now, and I think even like our label would agree with that. As far as our big kind of plan that we kind of started a few years ago, when this is sort of the end of that plan in terms of our first album. This is, at this very point, we're about to enter into completely uncharted sort of waters, really, and it's just extremely exciting. So I think it's just going to be great to get back into a much more chaotic sort of way of life, and when we go back to England, that's exactly what it will be. There's literally nothing planned out.
Yeah, I think we're interested in finding out the shit we didn't learn, really. I think we want to touch upon things we haven't really touched upon yet, kind of delve into themes that we haven't learned anything about, and we want to kind of like just conjure up, go back home, put the blinkers on, and kind of be more creative, be more chaotic, and kind of stop being performance monkeys.
I think there's just something very controlled about it. We were very used to earlier on in our kind of career driving ourselves around cities, and even that, there's a big difference when you're kind of doing it off your own back and finding your own, like staying around your friends' houses, because if you want to change your path at any point, you have the ability just to say, why don't we drive to this nature reserve, or why don't we just, I don't know, go drive across town to a nightclub or something like that.
Yeah, just casting off the framework of kind of what people want us to do over time and doing some of what we want to do. It's hard being on a major label because they have all these nasty kind of plans where they jab you here and whip you there and tell you to do things in front of cameras and stuff. But
fans are only really happy with bands who exercise a certain amount of freedom. I think everybody really can feel that in music. I think that's one of the things that people thirst for right now as well. Like, I think a lot of people would say, oh yeah, there's this really big alternative kind of market at the moment. Everything's kind of being pushed a bit more outside of the mainstream kind of window, which has been happening for years. But I think what people want more than anything is just for this feel of independence to everything. Like, I think there may be like a thing where people think that there's like a loss of movements now. I think one of the things that creates movements is what we're talking about, bands being very kind of self-controlled, and yeah, I think it's a really good time for that as well, because record labels obviously aren't exercising that much control anymore because they've lost so much money recently. And love you too. Yeah, it's
It's kind of two ways though. I think on major labels they exert probably a little bit more control, because basically they're dealing with something that's not really kind of marketable. They can't really sell it to the kids because the kids are downloading it, and I guess they're trying to like rush things a lot. They're trying to just get things over with and sign loads of new bands, and it's just dead really. It's kind of a little bit sad to be part of it. I think it'd be really good in hindsight not being signed to a label whatsoever and kind of doing things completely off your own back in your own way without this big dying monster kind of cradling you. Like,
if there isn't a movement already happening, then the conditions with all that kind of happening, with all the major labels kind of losing their minds and everything like that, it does seem like that. Being on that kind of label, they're doing everything they can for you, but at the end of the day, the world's not their oyster anymore, and it's really interesting to see that from a band's point of view on that kind of label. But yeah, I think that there will be some sort of big repercussion to that, and I think hopefully we'll be one of many bands who actually make a bigger impact over the next few years somehow.
I guess you look at it a few ways. Like we see it as kind of like a platform to kind of speak from. Like, being on a major label, you are put up on this pedestal for everyone to kind of listen to you. And I guess your music does kind of hit a lot more ears than it would do if you was kind of doing things in a real indie kind of way.
Yeah. I think the tricky thing for us is going to be that we want to do everything, as you say, like an independent outfit. We want to kind of just have control over everything. We've always done our own artwork and kind of almost kind of designed our own marketing and things like that to try and put across the right message about our band. I don't think we've found a balance, but I think we kind of struggle to maintain a balance.
We've definitely learned a lot of shit this campaign, so next time we can combat it. I just hope they're into it, and that they kind of, we're not trying to kind of sabotage their plan of kind of making it a successful band in any way. So hopefully by the end of the next kind of album, they might trust us a bit more. Yeah.
Don't know why.
Just lots of whistling. Whistling.
Dog noises, creaking doors.
No,
really, we have a completely blank canvas. I mean, we're not the kind of band who writes on the road, because I think we don't write music about our own thoughts almost. We kind of try and extract the thoughts of some third person when we're kind of making music. I think that's just the way we've always done it, and for some reason I think that just works better in isolation. Like, even when we were doing the first album, we would often kind of be touring around London and doing all our kind of early shows, and then we'd just go back home for a week and kind of clear our heads, and that's how we'd write music. I just don't think we've changed really. We haven't become kind of work machines, music machines by any standard. I don't think we have to be. I managed to get back into the studio and just make a load of noise, and some really interesting results. So I don't think it's going to be a real difficult thing. It's just going to be really exciting to get back and switch everything on and press record and